Okay, well, welcome everybody. Thank you to all those participants who've joined. So far, we have about 55 people on the call. And thank you all for giving up your time on your Sunday night or for me in Australia, my Monday morning. And we're going to talk to you today about some sort of tips and tricks and a few things in regards to public image and sort of how we do things. So my name is Evan Burrell, if you didn't already know. I'm a passionate Rotarian and as well as a Superman fan. And I've been involved with Rotary now for 21 years, joining Rotaract all those years ago and then moving into Rotary. I am the current president of the Rotary Club of the Ponds, which is situated in District 9685 in Australia. And I am the Assistant Rotary Public Image Coordinator for Zone 8, which is all of Australia. So I'll pass over to Alison, who will do her intro, and then Krysta, and then we'll get on with it.
Great. I'm Alison Frye. I'm from the Rotary Club of Perrysburg, Ohio, in the United States. And I am the current past president, but I was a longtime secretary. But I also have served quite a while as our district's public image chair. And now I'm Zone 30's Assistant Rotary Public Image Coordinator. So I love talking about sharing Rotary story, and that's what we're here to do tonight.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Just getting unmuted here. So my name is Krysta Peterson. I am also from the United States. I am in the South Metro Minneapolis Evenings Rotary Club. We're a younger kind of non-traditional club in Minnesota. And I'm our current club grants chair. And then I'm our district public image committee chair as well. So thanks everybody for joining us.
Okay, beautiful. Well, I'm going to start this. I'd like this Zoom meeting to be quite interactive, but we're going to start with just our little presentation. So I'm just going to put up a PowerPoint and just sort of share the screen. If you can't see the screen, or what my PowerPoint, because of the way that you have joined the call, I do apologize, but we are recording this presentation, so you will be able to watch it back at a later date. Okay, there we go. So first I want to talk about is personal branding. And a vast majority of you have seen this image before. This is what I'm most known as around the Rotary world as the Rotary superhero. And I'll give you a bit of a background on how this has worked for me in regards to sort of my own personal branding. So as you can tell from my background, I am a big Superman fan and sort of in love with Superman and superheroes and all that other kind of thing. And it got me thinking that a few years ago, when the first kind of Marvel movies and DC comic movies, Batman and all those sorts of things were sort of hitting the cinema, it sort of really hit the sort of cultural zeitgeist. And so people were can instantly recognize, superheroes and what they do. And it's been a sort of cultural phenomenon now for about 80 or so years. And so it got me thinking that, Rotarians are kind of, modern day superheroes. And I wanted something that would sort of bring out some sort of fun side to us and tie into something that a preconceived idea that people already know about. And so that's why the Rotary superhero thing came up. And so, I got had one of the original photographs I had taken was by a lady named Alice Henson, who used to work for Rotary International. She was their photographer. And I sort of was posting on Facebook and playing around with the sort of superhero thing. And she saw that, and I was heading over to Evanston for a meeting. and we did a sort of a photo shoot, and we got some professional, she did the professional photos taken of me as the superhero, and then we put it up on our social media feeds and Rotary International social media feeds, and it kind of went from there. And it's really, you know, cemented me as sort of that, you know, my personal brand. People sort of made it that instantly recognizable. And I think that's something that really works well for us as Rotarians to basically, you know, I'm a very gregarious type of person, in case you hadn't already realized. But I think it's important for us to really show that we are proud to be in Rotary. And it's okay, sometimes I can go over the top a little bit. I'm not suggesting that you all go out and buy this, get this god-awful Rotary suit, which has to be one of the worst looking suits I have ever seen. But it's so well tailored and it fits like a glove. It doesn't really cover my paunch very well. Anyway, maybe now's the time to get some more exercise in. But this is sort of my shtick and my gimmick. So I'm really proud to be Rotarian. I try to wear something that's kind of Rotary-esque every day when I'm out at my normal job or whatever. Considering that a vast majority of us are now stuck at home, we do get the opportunities to you know, get out and get some groceries and whatever else. So I think now more than ever, maybe it's a good time to wear some Rotary apparel if you're actually, you know, heading out into the community to do whatever you need to do. So you can wear your pins, badges, or Rotary shirts, that sort of stuff, or ask me about Rotary, because you never know where this conversations will lead or what kind of will generate from that. And because we have sort of already an inbuilt version of trust, like Rotarians are a trusted organization, people can feel welcome and open up to ask us about that. So, you know, if you can be a proud member. So the first part of the public image that I find is be proud of it. You know, I personally think public image is the most important part of who we are. Okay, of course, people will argue and say the foundation or this and that, and they are all, you know, equally important. But the thing is about public image is if people don't know anything about us, they're not inclined to either donate towards us or join us or, you know, be even slightly interested. So we need to actually show that we're also proud to be involved in Rotary. We're proud of the organization and who we do, and we need to articulate that in a better way. So as I said, I'm a Rotarian. What's your superpower? And it's nice that people have kind of emulated this. I know there's been quite a few people around the world who've bought the, we've got the Rotary superhero pins. Unfortunately, I no longer have available, but the pins were really successful, and you know, people were awarded the hero award that I made up to recognize people in their own clubs or communities or districts that, you know, we think you're superheroes. We think that what you do for our club is worth recognizing. And you know, I've been, you know, humbled to see that a lot of people have taken the superhero concept on board and really, you know, gone with that, much to the jargon of others who think that, you know, we're not superheroes, and you know, and even some of those people in you know, I've got a bit of blowback from this from some of those in headquarters and other places. But you know, my philosophy is if it's something is resonating with people, then you know, it's been a success, and I know it has been a success. Now, okay, being a Rotary superhero doesn't work for everyone, but you know, at least people are giving it a go. So that's sort of my little blurb about personal branding. But I want to talk a little bit more about sort of branding and logos. So we all recognize this. It's the Big Mac, the two all beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese on a sesame seed bun. And so people say, okay, well, McDonald's really hasn't changed all that much. The burgers haven't really changed, or the logos haven't really changed. But as you can see, that since they started in the 1940s, McDonald's has actually changed their logo fairly consistently and constantly over the last couple of years. Still, the golden arches still remain, but you know, there are subtle differences for that. Rotary is, as a side note, Rotary is in more countries than McDonald's, which is surprising. So speaking on the logos, you've all seen this before. So people have said, or some people in the clubs, oh, you know, the Rotary logo, I used to like the logo when it was blue and da-da-da-da-da. Oh, the logo hasn't really changed. Well, as you can see, over the last 115 years, our international logo has changed fairly consistently. And as you say, we've got the logos here at the bottom. I still see on a vast majority of websites, social media pages, and particularly banners or other kind of physical assets that have been produced, you know, within the last 2 or 3 years that are still using these logos. And it creates a bit of a problem if some people are sort of abiding by the rules and using the proper logo, and then it all gets turfed out when somebody posts something with the old logos on it. It makes us look sloppy, and it doesn't have any sort of consistency. So you know, these are the logos now. This is the logo, the master brand signature. This is the main one that we need to use. And of course, we can talk a little bit later about you know, through the brand center, how you can you know, put your club name and how it's supposed to sort of operate. But it's the main talking point. This is our main logo. This is what we need to do. And so if you are stuck at home during this terrible coronavirus, perhaps it's a more time than any to go through and just check to see what some of your assets are and see if you can change it and sort of update it. And you can also find at my Rotary on the brand center, you've got the identity at a glance. So if you need to know the hex, for the colors, the typography, how it's supposed to sit situated, all that imagery is there available for you to use. You know, okay, so there's no such thing as the Rotary Police. Trust me, there's Rotary Police. Okay, trust me, of all people. So we just got to make sure we try and do the right thing. And for us, that's sort of trying to tell our Rotary story. And we all have a unique and individual way of being able to do that. So as I said, my little shtick has been sort of the Rotary superheroes, and that's how I found that that's resonating with people. That's how we're telling our Rotary story. And you know, and it's because our hero is an ordinary person doing things in an extraordinary way. And I honestly do feel that that's encapsulate us as Rotarians. And okay, you know, I think, oh no, well, I just go to my club meeting and eat chicken, you know, or we just go to our meetings and do Zoom and stuff like that. Well, look, in actual fact, you know, we might not be rescuing cats from trees or like Superman does, but we're ending polio, which is trying to wipe off this disease from the face of the earth. We're transforming our communities. You know, we're actually hands-on doing things that make people's lives better. We're connecting with people. You know, and then even now more so than ever, Rotary's saying we connect the world. We are connecting with people. We are inspiring people. We inspire the people that we help, and we inspire each other. We empower each other to do great things. We're fighting hunger, and we're having fun. And, you know, that's obviously the main part, is that we all enjoy what we do, or we wouldn't do it. So to tell our story, we need to sort of particularly use social media to attract sort of a diverse membership. And I mean, I still think that, yes, you know, newspapers and other things still have their place, and it's still nice to see our stories get in the local news. But I think it's time for us to create our own news and create our own narrative, which is why social media has really worked well for me. And I think it has because I've made it sort of personal. It's people have, you know, taken interest in who I am, and so they go along with that journey. And it's something that can be easily replicated by you all by posting a few things. So we need to focus less on these old guys, the original Fab Four, and we need to sort of focus on how we attract our younger generation to be involved in who we are as an organization. And to do that, I've found is that pictures tell an amazing story. Social media is a visual medium, so we need to be very cautious about things that we post, but also we need to make sure that what we're posting is top quality stuff, or great photographs, or really tell an interesting story. So inspiring images get actions. So as you'll know, a lot of you have followed me on my social media pages or in the Facebook groups and all that kind of thing. Inspiring images get actions. And we don't have a huge amount of time today. Now, that's not my dog. I own cats.
Whoops.
So a lot of you have seen the graphics that I've created. Now, can you put the dog on? Whoever with the dog, can you put the dog on mute? So what I want to suggest is, if you are stuck at home or you do have a bit of free time, please visit a website called Canva. I've been talking about Canva for quite a while now, and Canva is a fantastic website which you are able to, say for example, you're putting on a book fair for your organization, for your club. So you type in sort of book fair into the search bar on Canva, and it will come up with different options about things that have been created. So about books and those other sorts of things. And I can sort of, if we do have time, I can quickly bring up a website and I can sort of show you how that works. Maybe I will if I quickly run through this. Actually, that might be more worthwhile. Okay, so inspiring images get actions. So with our photographs that we post on social media, we always need to show happy people. We always need to try and keep it positive. And okay, sometimes I can be, I can post some sadness and a few negative things sometimes, or to get some conversation started on my own social media feeds. But overall, I try to keep it positive. So, try different photo angles, steer clear of the cliches. Things like the big check presentations, no one's interested in that anymore. We've got to avoid doing that. And we've always got to find the hook of what the story we're trying to tell. So, for example, a photograph like this. So this is me pointing out to my good friend Alexis how that her tattoo now doesn't meet the branding guidelines. So I won't tell you what she actually told me afterwards, but yeah, it involves a rotary chicken. Or photographs like this, if you've got a member or something who's visiting the South Pole, there was a Rotary member from Australia who did this, and so they've pulled out the Rotary banner. But that in itself is quite a captivating image. Or particularly if you're ever going on any projects overseas, getting some smiles. The worst things that I've seen over the years is when clubs or club members are doing projects, particularly say in India or Africa or something like that, and maybe they're digging a well or they're digging a pit toilet or something like that. They'll take a photograph of the sort of the open field or toilet area where they've just dug, and there's no context in regards to that. So involve the community or involve people into that shot, and make sure that it's sort of there's some action actually happening. Now, for me, what drew me to this photograph more than anything is this beautiful little kid's smiling face in the red shirt, and then my friend Michael next to him. So it's like, oh, that's a great shot. Well, what's going on here? And then Michael explains why he's where he is. So always got to try and find that kind of thing. Really think about whether or not the photograph that you take of your project or where you are, would it be something that a newspaper would put on their front page of their newspaper. So you've got to think with that kind of mentality. And for me, an image like this, which has really caught my attention from a couple of years ago, and it's from the Rotary Club of Woolgoolga in New South Wales, and they do a spearfishing competition, catching pelagic fish, and the spearfishers donate the fish to the Rotary Club, and then the Rotary Club auction that off. But what really caught my image is, why is there an old guy holding a fish above his head, and why is there a 12-foot tall Indian man about to kiss it? So John Arkin's the man at the back, he's the auctioneer, and George is the gentleman in the front. And so this kind of story, or this photograph, just sort of like, it was out of the ordinary. And these are the sorts of photographs that we need to use to capture people's attention. And it works well for me with what I do, what I post on social media, because always a little bit irreverent. And going along with a fish type of theme, this has to be one of the greatest Rotary stories I have ever come across. Is a Rotary Club president accidentally buys himself a gimp suit for a charity swim. Now, now I know you were all online, but please, for Christ's sake, don't Google GIMP suit at the moment, okay? Do it afterwards if you need to. But this gentleman, he was he bought a merman or merman suit or something like that, and he obviously took an unfortunate, embarrassing situation and turned it around and got some good publicity about that. So, you've always got to turn some kind of a negative into a positive, and they got a bit of hit from that. And look, it appeared on BuzzFeed, which is a pretty big website, and I think they also generated quite a number of large online donations, which they wouldn't normally do. Now, I'm not suggesting for your next event you go to the local sex store and get something to sort of help promote it, but it's sometimes these funny ideas work. And while we're on the subject, this is what I'm talking about here. If you can see my mouse, where it's at the Rotary Club of Whitsable, so they're using the old Rotary logo. So this was from a couple of years ago, I admit, but we need to sort of get rid of these and start using the proper logo. So what we need to do on social media is we need to tell great visual stories. These are the things that if someone can stop scrolling on their phone or their cell phone through Facebook, if someone can stop for that few moments and just look at something, then you know that whatever you've posted has worked. So we've got to always post. This is another tip for you all when you do your Facebook pages. Always make sure you've got a photograph to go with whatever you're talking about. Never just post text, because people are not interested in that. It's always got to be a photograph that goes along with it. Or if you're using a link or a video, they're just as good. But make sure you've got a photograph that goes with what you're talking about. So the don'ts. Don't take photos of people that don't want their picture taken. Don't take photos that make no sense, or bad backgrounds, or people not doing anything. These aren't the sorts of things that inspire people to find out about your club. So photos like this, okay, you can't miss Rotary in action. Well, it looks like I have missed it because I can't see anything. So we need to stick here with this sort of stuff, like Rotarians are sitting at a desk. So one guy looks like he's just fallen asleep. So these aren't inspiring. These aren't the great kind of photographs. So let's move on from that. My next little tip, and this is really important, get some assistance. If you look after your own Facebook page and you're the only one that does it and you have no other administrators, that you need to change that right now. Because I've had at least 3 people have contacted me in the last sort of 18 months to say, oh, look, we've had a member who's recently passed away. He used to look after our Facebook page and we don't have access to do anything. What can we do? Or club members have left or something else like that. And it's notoriously difficult to actually gain access to a Facebook page if you're not an administrator or trying to go through Facebook, because they're not exactly overly helpful in that regard. So you need to make sure that you have another member of your club added as an administrator, not as an editor, but as an administrator who is able to post as well. And, okay, there can be some sort of demarcation with some Rotarians. Oh, this is the job that I do, and I feel like you're going to take over and all this other kind of stuff. And I understand that, and I get that. But it's important to add some other assistance on your Facebook page, because the inevitable can happen. And then, if that's the case, if you've built up a following of 1,000 or 2,000, 3,000 likes for your club page, and then suddenly you can't access that anymore, then you may have to create another page and start from scratch again, and then you'll have 2 pages, and it confuses people. So it's my recommendation is to add some admins. The next tip is schedule. So a lot of people think that, geez, Evan, you post so much stuff about Rotary, all the time. Do you actually ever sleep? I do sleep, but what I do is I schedule. So things that I know are coming up, or some graphics or things that I do, I'll make sure that I schedule them to go out automatically. And that's a great tool if you are somewhat busy. You can sort of schedule some posts going forward. So for example, if you've got some speakers coming up, joining your Zoom calls in the next few weeks, get some information or a bio about them, post that, and then you can schedule that over the next couple of weeks, or any other sorts of relevant information. And for me, I find the best time works is in Australia is in the morning, because I know there's a lot of people who'll be waking up or making their way to work when we used to do that. And so they'll be looking at social media for that. Then the next tip is have a social media committee. So it's nice to have maybe a committee of about 3 or 4 people to actually plan what you're going to do. So this is all the online stuff. That's all awesome. But in the meantime, we've got to get our house in order. We've got to check on our physical assets. If we still have signs out in the community that look terrible like this is not a good look for us. McDonald's and other places wouldn't let their signage look so bad. So it's up to us to improve that. Now, of course, there are some, there could be some governmental concerns about going back out and redoing signs and X, Y, Z, and we can all, we can certainly come to that when the time comes. But in the meantime, let me show you what a club did in my district. So that was their original sign with a beautiful jacaranda tree behind them. Rotary Club of Northbridge. The sign had looked like it had been there for 1,000 years, and so they now have updated it. So they've used the master brand signature and the mark of excellence, so they're using the correct logos. They've got their nice white sign, nice and bright, and they've now got added a website. So they're actually making an invitation for people who drive past who maybe are interested to see that. Okay, well, I'll follow that up by looking up the Northbridge Rotary. So that's worked out really well. So yeah, check your assets. Now, if you have huge amounts of money, maybe you can put a sign up like this. Good luck trying to get planning permission for that, though. So, these sorts of things do capture our attentions. If you think about thousands of cars driving past it, people are going to know about that. And that's exactly why I wear this suit. As much as I possibly can out and about, is that I wore it when I spoke last year in England. I was walking down the street in a place called Llandudno in Wales, and everybody was like, look at that bloke, he looks like a bloody idiot. But I guarantee you that those people who looked at me wearing this suit would have definitely Googled Rotary after they saw me walk past. So just in closing, we all know that the world needs more Rotarians. This is a graphic I did a number of years ago, and it really does push the point that we actually need more people to join us, to join in the great things that we do. But we need to not focus on numbers, and that's one thing that we do badly here. Is we always, we need another 10 people in our club, and this and this and that and that. We actually need to start getting relationship building. We need to start telling people our stories, and in doing that, we invite people to come along with us on the journey, and they sort of buy into that Rotary dream. We don't want numbers, we want Rotarians. That's what we're looking for, and that's should be our main goal when we put our public image stuff on. So in closing real quick, tell your story. And that's your personal story. If you're active yourself on your own Facebook pages and things, Twitter or Instagram, tell your story, why you joined Rotary, what your moment is. Next tip is look at your branding. Go through and see what logos, if they need to be changed, or if you're putting out graphics, what needs to be changed there. Use social media and then engage with the alumni. And then, as I said, Rotary, we are the original social network. So just in closing, what we need to do is we need to talk about Rotary. Talk. Now, I'm just quickly going to quickly going to show you Canva to see if is that. Alison, just give me a thumbs up if Canva is showing on the screen. Is it? Nope. Okay. Well, it will in about 2 seconds. Let me just close that down. Okay, give me 2 seconds, folks. I tell you what I'm going to do while I'm working on this. I'm going to pass over to Alison or Krysta, who is going to take over from me next.
Krysta's up next.
Okay, so I'll pass over to Krysta, and then when Krysta's done, I'll quickly show Canva to everybody.
Sounds good. Thank you, Evan. I'm just going to get my screen sharing here. And hopefully everybody can see my screen. So I just have a few slides to piggyback off of what Evan was talking about, particularly when it comes to using Rotary's new campaign and sort of those visual, our visual identity on social media. So if you're not aware, there is a People of Action campaign. It was probably launched a few years ago at this point, but it is through the Brand Center. And the People of Action campaign is really meant to highlight the impact that we make around the world. And we do that by telling Rotary's story, as Evan was mentioning. And we really want to do that in a consistent and compelling way. And the People of Action tools that are on the Brand Center on My Rotary allow for you to localize your ads and localize your photos for social media, which is a really great way to build your club's brand as well as your own. And so the campaign narrative, it really highlights the fact that we are people of action. As Evan mentioned, you know, we are out in our communities doing work, working with you know, other nonprofits to create solutions for our community, both locally and around the world. We have a shared vision, and we want to make sure that through our stories, we can share our vision with our community partners, which allows us to kind of bring people in and to get those members and create those relationships. And then obviously we are mobilizing others to take action, and sharing our stories visually and sharing that action really brings people in. So this was an example that I had pulled. I follow all of our clubs in our district, and I did this photo in a training session, and I asked people, you know, who of you have seen a photo like this on your social media? And basically everybody in the room was like, yes, I have for sure. And so obviously this doesn't look very inviting. It doesn't look like there's a lot of action or that we're really having too much fun. And I've seen a lot of people saying, well, let me just apply the People of Action template. Like that'll really jazz it up. But even applying a template like Together We Connect doesn't really help this photo as much as it needs. It's still people sitting around a bunch of tables. You know, nobody's even really paying attention to the guy who's up at the front speaking. And so what we want to do is instead choose impactful images, showing the action in the verb that is chosen. So Evan had showed you we have Together We, and polio, and connect, and transform, and inspire. So really your photo should go along with whatever action that verb is. So here we've got Together We Connect, and you can see there's a young woman connecting with a student directly. A few other examples, we've got Together We Learn. We had a really fun event in our district. So we have one of our district governors-to-be is from Taiwan, and last year was the Year of the Pig. And so her whole campaign for the year was the polio pigs, and she had these great little pigs that were coin banks, and we passed them around at all of our events. And we've got a great action shot here of someone feeding the hungry polio pig with the People of Action campaign, Together We End Polio. And then a few other examples, another polio example, inspiring kids. This was at a science museum outdoor event for kids, trying to get them interested in science that we volunteered at. And then when you're out doing your volunteer activities, make sure you're taking, you know, fun and unique action shots. The thing that I always tell people that people forget is you can edit a photo. So if a photo is too dark, or even just using some photo editing or another editing app. This one, I happen to have an app on my phone that allows me to make it more like a cartoon image. And so you can get creative even if you just have a photo editing app on your phone. And then again, really taking those action shots, right? So here we're planting trees and we're reading to children. So even if you don't apply the People of Action campaign templates, the action shots along with a story of what you're doing is a much better way to visualize and tell our story. And so the People of Action templates are all available on My Rotary. And so if you go to rotary.org and then go to My Rotary in the top and log in, what you'll do is, if you don't have an account, you should have an account if you're a Rotarian, definitely get your My Rotary account set up. And then in order to get to the Brand Center, you'll, on the header here, you're gonna go under Manage, under Brand Center and Materials. And under the Materials section, you're gonna find this People of Action. And within that, you can see some pre-made resources. or you can create your own. So one thing, we've got 2 new clubs that just formed in our district. And one thing that's really nice about the Brand Center is if you don't have a lot of content to share yet, there are a ton of images that you can use out on the Brand Center. And then as you have events, you can use the toolkit to insert your own photos. So there's templates available both for Facebook post and then also for print ads if you were going to do like a magazine. And it's pretty easy. So once you're in the Brand Center and underneath People of Action, you are able to select a different language. You're able to choose that action verb, and then you can upload your own custom photos. And in order to do so, you would just click on Custom, and then click on Custom, and then click to add an image. The area that's really hard to see is there's a little itty bitty plus sign down in the corner, and that's where you click to add and upload your own images. From there, you get just a normal dialog box. You can access all of the photos that you've stored in the cloud or on your computer and get all those great localized action shots uploaded to the Brand Center. And then from there, it brings you back to the template. You would simply save. It will give you notifications if your photo isn't suitable or isn't a high enough resolution, so you'll just want to make sure to choose another one. And then you'll just simply hit the save button, give it a title, and then to download, just refresh your browser, and eventually you'll be able to download either a PDF, a JPEG, or a PNG. So using the Brand Center is really easy. Once you've made templates, you can re-access them underneath the My Templates section on the Brand Center. And then again, you can create a print ad if you wanted to. It just gives it a different size, and that is exactly the same way. So I'm just kind of quickly scrolling through here. Same thing, you would download and then save the image. So that was a really quick overview of using People of Action, but I do think that it's a really great way to make sure you're using proper branding, helping to tell the story similar to how Rotarians across the world are. And then just one other thing available on the Brand Center, Evan touched on it a little bit, but underneath this guideline section, if you were to go to learn more, he showed the quick one page of the voice and visual guidelines, but there is a really great, there's a whole packet out here that you can just download, and it'll give you the hex colors. If you're doing branding like through Canva, you can actually put in all of Rotary's colors, and then it gives you examples of what to do and what not to do. The other document out here that I've found really helpful recently is this quick start guide for social media. So we talk a lot about using Facebook, but I know in our district, for example, we want to use Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn and YouTube. And there's really a different audience associated with each of those platforms. And so you want to make sure that you're choosing the social media platform that works well for you. You're aware of what your target audience would be in that platform. You're building good content. And then, as Evan mentioned too, you have the manpower to be able to run all of those platforms. One person can't run all 5 platforms. So that was just a quick overview of using People of Action. And then if Evan's ready, he can go ahead and show you Canva. Thanks, everyone.
Beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to show you Canva, but also, Krysta, I want to quickly talk about as well the Sean Berries from your district, his So doing a People of Action through My Rotary is awesome, and we encourage you to do all that, but a guy named Sean created an app which makes it even easier. So I'm going to quickly share my screen to show that. So, okay, but first, now, we all can see that I'm in Canva. So what I've done is I've gone to www.canva.com. I've signed in. So now, for example, say this is how easy it is. Say, for example, we're doing a book fair, and you're like, oh God, I really want to come up with an idea for a book fair. And some of the designs that we use, that have been done by one of the guys in the club, oh, it's really boring. Okay, so you want to make it a bit jazzy, a bit flashy. So just for example, I'm typing in book fair. Give me a thumbs up if you can see, if everybody can see that. Can you see all that? You following along? Great, awesome. Okay, so book fair. So we've hit enter. What's come up? Oh, wow, this one looks awesome. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to edit this. Okay, so we're going to type in here. Rotary Club of Superheroes. Book fair, Saturday the June 16. It's in wherever it is. It's all good. So we've designed this. Now what we want to do is we want to add some extra details for that, or perhaps we want to change the color to meet the different coloring, or the branding or anything else like that. So as you can see down here, I've put in brand colors. So these are the colors that I've saved into Canva, which are the actual official colors of Rotary International. So the Rotary Gold, the Rotary Blue, and then I've also got a Rotary color there as well. So I'm going to try and change the black background to blue, and then these other colors, I'm going to try and change them to the gold, and we can go from there. So we can change the color palette in Canva that meets the actual colors of Rotary International. And by doing that, you can see up here where it says the tri blue. That's this one here is the hex colors, and so the hex colors are available on the branding guidelines, or I can certainly repost them again in the graphics group, or make them available so you want to use that. Now, for example, you want to put up the Rotary logo. Oh, no, that's not what I want to do. Oh. Yeah. Okay. Because I do this from my phone.
It's so different on a desktop, isn't it, Evan?
Yeah, everything's different on the desktop. Upload.
So while you search, I will say one thing about Canva. If you search Canva for nonprofits, you can actually apply, and the premium version is free to registered nonprofits. So I know our district's going to be checking that out, but that's one thing I would suggest. A lot of platforms do have some special information or special pricing for nonprofits, and Canva is one of those.
Okay, thank you. So in the photo section, we can upload a logo. Now, because that's a JPEG, it doesn't really work very well. So I'm going to delete that out. And there we go. So you'll see the logo wheel looks a bit different than the normally. That's the simplified logo. So that's predominantly used for things like on digital sort of things like that. So all I've done is I've gone to uploads, and this is what I've saved previously, and we can then add this to the design, and we can now let's just assume that Rotary Club of Superheroes is what's written here. So you'll see where it says Rotary Young Professionals. The markup. Have I got a markup here? Saved. Oh, yes, I do. Okay. So let me just add mine. Okay. So, okay, yes, the blue, it doesn't really work well on the blue. I admit that, but just for the sake of exercise, you can see that I've got the Ponds Rotary Club. So that's the logo that we use, but we can also then incorporate that, and we'll just put it, just going to put it down here. A bit smaller. For the sake of argument. Okay, So it's simple as that. We've basically just gone, this obviously needs to be tidied up, and I certainly wouldn't be putting it out like this. I'd be making it all look a little bit nicer. But the main point of the exercise here is that if you go to Canva, you can actually, find or make some of the graphics look great. So again, for another example, Pro, we can put in like car show perhaps. See what comes up. Okay, there we go. Perfect. Another example like that. If you're doing showing classic cars, and these are the sorts of social media graphics, and they're really easy to use. You just have to, update. You just go in here and update those details, and then you can post that straight away. So I would suggest after this sort of, for the next couple of weeks while you're at home, go onto YouTube and maybe go to the Canva website and play around with things, do sort of a Canva tutorial or a video tutorial, learn a bit more about how it all works. These are the sorts of simple graphics that have been made available either for free, or you do have to pay for some elements if Canva requires it, or you have a pro account. But these are the sorts of graphics and imagery that we want to put out there. So all the old stuff that you've seen before that you think is pretty bad, it's pretty bad. So it's up to you to sort of redo the new things. Now, really just quickly, as what Krysta talked about, I talked about the People of Action campaign. You do it through My Rotary. It can be a bit of a hard process, and I did see there was a question from somebody that said, when they put it through the brand center, the People of Action imagery comes out a little bit fuzzy, or that kind of thing. Well, this is the gentleman, Sean, has done it. He's obviously got permission from Rotary International, otherwise he wouldn't have this site. So the website that I put in is app.poaphotos.com, poaphotos.com. Anyway, so this is how you show it. So you open a photograph from your desktop. So this is the photo that I'm going to use. Okay, now we want to put some kind of a vibe, maybe have fun. So we'll go to the templates, and we can click and see you've got Rotary Interact, this year's theme, the master brand, all the other kind of thing. So we'll go to Rotary, and we will click on Have Fun. And as you can see, Have Fun is dropped there, and we can sort of position it wherever we like. So we'll put it, just put it here. Apply. And we can also then change the coloring and the background colors and outline and shadow and all that kind of things that do from that. But we want to save that, and we usually save it in PNG, which means it's quite a large, good quality. And I'll put in Have Fun. We'll save that. Well, it should be saving it now anyway. Okay. Pages aren't responsive. Okay. Maybe all of you have jumped on this website now, which is what's causing it to do its thing. Okay, but anyway, you get the idea. App.poaphotos.com. Check it out. Upload your own photos. You can put all the different templates and all the rest of this sort of thing, and it does save in quite high quality. So let me just cancel out of this. Okay, so I'll just pass over to Alison.
All right, I'm getting my slides up, but everybody should just take a quick second, little stretch break, and look through all the pictures from around the world that are on. I know when we're sharing our screen, you can't always see everybody, but it's really awesome. Right now, we've got 76 folks from all around the world on, so that's pretty cool. Excited to see that. So I'm going to go ahead and get my slides up. I will tell you just before we go to this, I'm going to talk about a little something different, which is more like, what does public image really even matter in the current world we're in? And so a little different take, but I think what Evan and Krysta shared is so important to what we all need to do. We need the mechanics. We need to understand how to share a message, and we need to understand that, you know, Rotary has a campaign out there, and we want to use that. We want to be people of action. We want to make sure our photos in our district are showing that that messaging. The other hand is that we do fundraisers and do events, and they are not actually necessarily a people of action type of photo, but we need to create professional graphics that make us look like a professional organization. And so tools like Canva help those of us who don't have graphic design skills, or help our clubs who can't pay for those kind of skills. We need to use the resources that are out there. And there's a bunch of great Rotary Facebook groups around the world. Sometimes it's difficult to just take something somebody else did exactly and apply it to your club, but use it for inspiration. Use the project from Spain to work on your project in the United States, or take something that somebody in Canada has done and apply it to your world. We're all in this together, but sometimes you can't exactly duplicate or just share every single thing. It doesn't always work. So use tools like Canva to make things easier and look more professional. All right, I'm going to grab my slides here. All right, so as I mentioned at the beginning, my name is Alison Frye. I'm from Perrysburg, Ohio in the United States. I'm Zone 30's RPIC right now. I'm also immediate past president of my Rotary Club. And I always like to start anything I do with just a little bit about my club. I think clubs are the heart of what Rotary does. And I think it's always interesting to hear about different clubs. So the picture on the upper left is me with the gentleman who was president right before me. His name's Chet. And we're a fairly young club in the world of Rotary. We're 40 years old, or 42 years old, I guess now. And he is the third generation from his family to be our club president, which I think is pretty cool. So his grandfather was obviously one of the very first presidents, and then his dad, and now him. So I thought that was pretty cool. The big check picture in the middle, I know Evan hates those, but it's just kind of a reflection of one of the things our club does really well is we make grants to local organizations. So we fundraise and make grants like a lot of clubs. The bottom left, you'll see some of our favorite projects is giving a bunch of Thanksgiving meals away, and we raise money all year long to be able to give away hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of full Thanksgiving meals. We also serve meals to those who need it. And then the upper right corner, and so since this is more of a global meeting, maybe you can call me on this. I always say that there's some of my great Rotary friends here in the picture, but in the background, you see a band playing. And I always like to say that we're the only Rotary club in the world that has its own rock band. I don't know if that's totally true. Maybe you can call me on that if it's not true. But we have our own rock band called Plead the Fifth, and it's made up of members of our club. And actually the lead singer is the spouse of one of our clubs. So that's a little bit about my Rotary club. And then I thought I would tell you a little bit about quarantine life. So where I'm at in the world, and many of you are in the same position I am. We are currently in a quarantined shelter-in-place mode where we are not able to really leave our homes except for essential things like going to the grocery store or going to work. And so I am currently quarantined with my two daughters, and we're actually, I have to say, having some good memories of this situation. Like most Rotarians, I feel like I'm pretty busy with Rotary work, and busy with my work, and busy with friends and family. So a little bit of a pause has been okay. Although the reason we're doing it, of course, I would never want to wish on our world. I work in commercial banking, and so the picture on the right shows I'm still going to work daily. So I am one of those who is considered essential because of what I do. And so right now I'm still going to work most days. I can do a little bit from home, but the core of what I do does require that I'm in the office and that we keep operations going. And so I do, my heart goes out to anyone on this call who is considered essential and who is still putting themselves at risk during this quarantine time. So what exactly does public image even mean right now in unprecedented time? I think it's interesting, you know, a lot of us through this whole COVID-19 crisis have realized maybe our priorities were in the right place, maybe they weren't, but it's caused all of us to take a pause, good or bad. And I think Rotary is no different. We're trying to push through. We're trying to make sure that we continue what we're doing. But really, we all know the world is very different this second than it was 3 months ago or 4 months ago, or the last time we had a district conference, or the last time we had a district assembly. Life is very different. And so it seems, I don't know, it seems really foolish to say that we can just pretend like nothing's wrong and go about things the way we used to in the Rotary world. That doesn't mean we can't still continue to share Rotary's message. And we got some of the practical tools about the ways we can do it. And I believe we need to keep doing that. We talk a lot in Rotary about the three-legged stool, our tripod of membership, foundation, and public image. And we call it a stool, but I think a tripod's even better, because the tripod that holds the camera, depending on how it looks among these three different areas, is the full picture of our organization. We know without a strong membership, we can't get solid giving and service work happening. We know without any funds to help around the world, and without our service projects, we don't have a good public image in our world. So we know all three of these things are very important. We talk about it at every Rotary event we possibly are at. You hear this methodology that we need to stick together in these three areas. But right now, it feels difficult to think, what can I share? It's not like my club members can be out doing something together. It's not like we're going out on a social function. It's not like people right now are traveling overseas for Rotary projects. All of that has sort of stopped, paused, and we're in a different place right now. But these three things still make up the picture of our organization. So if public image is really all about telling our story, what story is being written right now? What is the story of Rotary in the middle of a global pandemic, where we have members who are sick, where we have members who have, if not have passed away, we will lose members through this. We have members right now whose businesses are at a breaking point, who are waiting for help if they can get it. We have family members who are managing a whole different lifestyle than they've had before. I know even myself, I'm trying to homeschool my kids while I'm in my office. And it's all a different world than we've been in a long time. And so right now, if public image is about telling our story, what is it that we are sharing right now? So it led me to kind of think this. What if I was writing the story? What would I want at the end of this? What would I want our story to be? So I've got a few slides here sharing what I would like at the end of this, or certainly after the peak of this, our story to be. The first thing I think our story is that Rotarians understand global connections. This issue of a disease transferring from one continent to another, from affecting communities, affecting areas without clean water, this is no surprise to Rotarians. We know this. We see this in our work, and we understand these global connections matter, that we are not just a country or a state or a club isolated from the rest of the world. We are connected with each other. This is no surprise. This is our story. I also, at the end of this, I want the story to be that Rotarians are good neighbors. You know, right now, when we can't hop on a plane and go somewhere to make a difference, and we can't gather with our fellow leaders in our district or in our zone, we have to remember that Rotarians are good neighbors. Our work right now, we are called as Rotarians to help closest to our home. Sometimes that means just in our four walls, and sometimes that means just the people who are right around us. And so our story, our public image story, is that Rotarians are good neighbors. We're not worried always about something super far away. We're worried about close to home. And so checking on your fellow Rotarians, checking on your neighbors, making sure you're making at least 3 connections a day. This is our story. The other story is that I believe friendship is one of the greatest benefits and gifts that Rotary offers. I know I was so excited to see so many faces on this call that I know, and I've been doing a few different calls with my club, our club meetings this way. And, you know, at the end of the day, yeah, there's club business, there's district business, there's real things we have to work on and figure out how we're going to do going forward. Many president-elects trainings all over the world have been canceled. But really, at the end of the day, I am mostly worried about my friends. I mostly understand through all of this that the story of why it is great to be a Rotarian, why membership matters, is that our friendship is one of the greatest gifts that we have. I think the other story, and we've been talking about this with Rotary Strategic Plan, is that Rotarians are not afraid of change. I see Rotarians right now all over the world making really interesting choices about one. Actually, before we started the meeting, somebody mentioned that they were doing a district conference via Zoom. We're working on how to do president-elect's trainings over Zoom. My district is thinking about how do we help subsidize some dues for clubs, knowing that the members of Rotary are leaders. They're leaders in their community, and they are right now struggling to lead their businesses and organizations. So how can we possibly ask them to keep paying their dues, and what can we do to help them? And I think, you know, doing meetings via Zoom, figuring out how we can stay connected with each other, reaching out to organizations that we've supported in the past, it just shows that we aren't afraid of change. I want that to be our story. If I was authoring our story, our public image story through this whole thing, I would hope that it's at the end of the day, people realize Rotarians are not afraid of change. And this story, this has been our story forever, is that it isn't about us. The work we do, the messages that we share, it's not about us. We've always been service above self. We've always been people of action. And the people of action is not for our own good or our own promotion. We're doing this to make a difference in our world. And we have to remember that while we right now may be sticking close to home, sticking close to our neighbors, that this isn't about us, that we have so much to share with the world, and that we are not the plan B, we're the plan A for making the world a better place. And the last thing I'll say is just an element of being authentic and being real and being caring, and understanding that our image doesn't need to be contrived. It doesn't need to be fake. It doesn't need to be posed or set up or anything. Right now, our job as Rotarians is to just live the story that's in front of us. Take care of the people who are around us, take care of ourselves mentally and physically, connect with your club members, make sure they feel the strength and connections that they've always had. And then later, we'll author this story. We don't need to be promoting our work right now. We need to be doing the work. And later on, we'll have plenty of stories of how we stayed connected. We'll have plenty of ways to reflect back, but we don't need to contrive that right now because we're in a very interesting and challenging time. So just live your story, live your club story, your family story, your district story, your work story, your leader story, whatever it is. And later on, let the story be authored. I'm going to end my sharing of screen here and just chat with everybody for a minute. And just thank you for letting me come on. I know Evan and Krysta are here to take some questions from everybody. It's a very interesting time. I appreciate you letting me say a few things about it. And I do believe that just like what we're doing tonight, taking time to do this, this is our story. This is the story of how Rotary is going to continue in the future. We have been too strong for too long. We're not going to let this thing take us out of business as an organization. So I appreciate everybody listening to me for a little bit, and I'll turn it back to you, Evan. See what else you want to do tonight.
Oh, that was awesome. That was an awesome presentation, Alison. And I'm just going to share my screen because this is okay. I'm just going to share the screen real quick.
I'm scared.
Can you see that? Okay, I think Alison needs to be packed into every single shelter box, okay, because that was some inspirational stuff right there. Okay, I'm just seeing in some of the comments in regards to Sean's the website about the Have Fun. I was on the communications committee a couple of years ago for RI, which you know, was one of the people that approved some of the extra words. Yes, Have Fun is not an approved Rotary International word for the campaign. But look, I think if it gets used in moderation, and if you're actually using it with an actual fun photograph to go with it, I understand that we've got to follow the guidelines, we've got to follow the rules, and I do, 99.9% of the time. But if we're going to argue over the having fun, whether it's approved or not, I think it totally defeats the purpose of what we're trying to achieve. If you've got a fun photograph and you think it's going to work for you on social media, or going to work to improve to get members into your club, and there's a photograph and you want to have fun on it, have fun on it. I would assume that relatively soon that kind of word or phrasing may be approved. I would hope. I know I'm not on the committee anymore, unfortunately. I know there are some who are. Maybe we need a push to get that word approved, because I think we shouldn't have to ask permission to have fun, because as soon as we do, then the game's over. Now, I think we're getting pretty close to time. I think we can run over just a little bit. Everyone seems to still be quite engaged. So, Alison, do we want to go with some questions? And I think it might be the best way, if anybody has some burning questions that you want to ask, if you can whack it in the chat group, that would be awesome. And we can start taking questions to either Alison, Krysta, or myself. The three of us are unmuted, so we can read out the question that you've asked us, and then we can answer it. So now's your opportunity to get a question in. So whoever's going to go first. Okay, or do we need to unmute? I don't think we need to unmute everybody, but. Okay, I tell you what. Maybe this is a bit easier. If you would like to ask a question, please just raise your hand. Okay, the first person I saw was Eleanor Cunningham. Eleanor, we can somehow unmute you?
Hold on, I gotta find her. Where's she at?
We've got about 70 people on the call here.
Yikes, I apologize. I'm trying to find her in my grid. Should not be that hard. Eleanor. Okay, I'm not going to let this take me down after all this. Just her screen name, say Eleanor.
If you look under the participants, they're in alphabetical order.
Okay, Carl, we've got Carl. So, Carl, you ask your question first, Carl, if that's okay.
Yeah, certainly. So the challenge that I have is that we do a lot of activities with and for children, but there's restrictions on whether you're showing photos of children in a social media setting. So right now, I'm not putting up pictures of children at all on our social media, just because we would have to get pre-approval from each and every parent to be able to do that. I was wondering if other people have approaches that tend to work better.
Okay, so I can answer that question. So if, for example, you might have, children under the age of 18, you might be interactors or something like that. If there's a small group of people, say, 3 or 4 kids, then what I would do is I would have a release form that has your club name on it, and it's a release form saying, we're going to be using your photograph to put on social media or anything XYZ, and you can seek permission from the parents or something to do that, or there's ways around that with the release form. If it's a larger group of people and there's a certain distance, that kind of thing, sometimes it can, you're able to, or if it's backs of people's head, you're still able to use those sorts of photographs. But more importantly,
yeah, I have used the backs of children's heads.
Yeah. But more importantly, though, I would think, which is important for every club, is to make up a template of a release form, so that even if it's adults, because say for example you might want to put a photograph up that you've taken of some members of the public up on a banner or something along those lines. I think it's important to probably have a release form to protect you from any kind of thing, litigation from that litigation. So.
Okay, thank you.
I will add into, Evan, that if you're working through a school, for example, if you're doing a project at a school, a lot of times the school already has some release forms like through the actual school itself, or a teacher is able to handle that for you. And then the other thing that we've been doing to get images during, for example, like our fundraisers, is when you have your registration, you would have essentially a statement at the bottom that says, by purchasing a ticket and registering for this event, you're agreeing to and understanding that any images taken at the event may be used in marketing materials or on social media. So that's also a good way to make sure you have that covered.
Oh, that's a great idea. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think Eleanor's question was asked of. I think it's going to be easier, folks. If you have some questions, just put it in the chat box.
I was able to unmute her, so she's good now. If you have something you want to share, Eleanor. Sorry about that.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you. I just put my question in the chat box. I was wondering how people are getting around their community projects during this time. I mean, if there's so little communication physically, it must be difficult. And I think fundraising is a difficulty too. So we just managed to get a trivia night in before we had lockdown here in Australia. So I'm just wondering how other people have been coping with all of this.
Look, I suppose that's a question that's kind of somewhat related to public image. And I've talked about it with some Zoom presentations I did last week and a couple I'm doing this current week. I think things are taking a hiatus at the moment with what's going on. I think it's probably worthwhile for clubs to take heed of what actually they're doing in the community, what some of their projects are, and reflecting on whether these are able to come back in the foreseeable future or whether they need to be replaced with something different. Now is more so than ever is the time for reflection for what we actually do. But you know, there's no real concrete answer to this because no one just knows what's happening with COVID-19. We don't know how long it's going to go for, or what's going to happen, or when life will ever get back to normal, if it ever gets back to normal. So I think that's a good question. But yeah, I think perhaps that maybe some others could answer that in the chat box. But yeah, I don't think. I think, you know, fundraising is worthwhile, but that's not the sole reason for who we are as Rotarians, you know, because we kind of seem to get in money to pay Peter to pay Paul. But I think fundraising shouldn't be the hugest focus for us. I think what we should probably be doing is actually looking at how much money we actually have in some of our bank accounts and probably letting opening up the purse a little bit. Let the moths out, because there are some clubs that are sitting on oodles and oodles and oodles of cash, and that could really be utilised to go towards perhaps Meals on Wheels or other sorts of local community organisations that could really do with the money to help some of those people that can't get groceries, can't get toilet paper, or other sorts of different bits and pieces. So that's maybe as clubs, we shouldn't be focusing so much on trying to raise funds in the interim. It's more about how other ways we can help people. So
I guess too, it's important that we have continuity of ourselves as an organisation online, so that people know that we still are functional and out there. You know, otherwise there's a danger of becoming very stagnant and going really into hibernation, which has been a word used here a lot.
Yeah, well, and that's why it's so important for us as the public image, is making sure that things are put out on our websites, things are put out on our Facebook feeds, maybe money spent on advertising on Facebook to promote who we are and what we're doing. And we're still seeing in the community why it's important, if we are going out into the shops or anything like that, is maybe get some of these old Rotary shirts that you've got hanging in the wardrobe, get them out and whack them on, and you never know the conversation might start. So, all right. Thank you. Now, let's have a look if there were some other questions. I think there was one from, I did see something from Adeline, something about the Saviour complex or the hero complex.
Alicia had a question too. I unmuted her.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Alicia Lake. I am from the Rotary Club of St. Martin, Sunset in the Caribbean, 7020. I just want to commend you on a very wonderful presentation this evening. Here in the chat, I also have my president, Jaida, and two members, which is Jade and Lionel. We are a fairly new club, and when it comes to PI, we have a lot of content that we put on our page. The issue that we are currently facing right now is our members, we are having a hard time convincing our members to share whatever is being posted on our page. Do you have any sort of advice that we can give to our members? We know that our members are fairly new. You know, some of us are past Rotaractors. So those that know about Rotary, they understand the importance of sharing. But for the new members that we have, what advice do you think, you know, what advice can you give to us to try and convince them the importance of sharing our stories?
I can go just a little bit, and then Evan, if you want to add anything on. We've kind of started doing a better job with this, or we have a few members of our group who share quite a bit. And I think the people that do share, it's because Rotary is a very big part of like who they are, right? And so, you know, we've had to do some almost kind of coaching during some of our meetings. We'll have like a meeting where we don't have a speaker, for example, and we get a lot of newer members who probably haven't even been or heard that much about Rotary. And so it's really getting them comfortable with who we are and what you're doing as a club. So for example, we let, or kind of explained, I suppose, what our club had done on some of our past grants and what we're doing in a grant that we have right now. We have a 3-year $55,000 grant with a partner in Kenya. And some of our newer members don't really know what's going on with that. And so it's really taking the time to help our members feel comfortable about explaining who we are as a club, what it is we're doing in our communities, and even giving them like pre-made posts. So it sounds like you guys are posting stuff and then asking for them to share. And then even just spending some time in a meeting, either sharing something that happened at the meeting that night and literally having everybody take out their phone and making that share. So you obviously can't force people to do that, but it's really about helping them understand why it's important, what the project is that you're doing, and then maybe physically showing them how to share if they're maybe newer to social media as well.
Okay, Keith Hodkinson had a question, comment.
Yes, I'm Keith Hodkinson, District Governor-elect from District 6600, which is Northwest Ohio. This is a whole, like a multifaceted thing that's going on here. One, we have to watch out for our members that are currently out there. We have a number of clubs that are about to bill for their quarterly dues. So we have to watch it, because if we do that, it's the opportunity for some of those members to opt out and decide, I can't do this right now. I don't have a job. I don't know where I'm going over the next 3 months. I have no idea what's going on. I'm really encouraging a lot of clubs or districts to talk to their clubs about ways to forego billing right now. This is not the time to be sending out bills. Secondly, do we do fundraisers right now? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We go out and we help the communities that we live in. We look out for ourselves first and our families, but we go out to the communities. In our town that I'm from, we went out and talked to some of the people at the senior centers. They need people to help deliver drugs to the seniors, food to the seniors, and the people who normally do that are in the at-risk age group, so they can't do it. So what do? Is we set up a whole program where we can help by having the senior center call us. We have a person goes and picks up whatever they need to pick up and drop it off, with the whole protocol of dropping it off, making sure the senior's okay. Those are the things that are important right now. It's not fundraising, but we do have to protect the members that we have, because we're in danger of losing them if we act too quickly to think that things are back to normal. It's going to be a long time. The other thing, and I hate to bring this up, is youth exchange. That's another thing we got to think about. Do we really want to be involved in youth exchange over this next year because of this? It wouldn't, in my opinion, it could be a really bad thing for us to be involved. So I'll just throw that all out, and thank you for a great presentation tonight.
I think, yeah, thanks, Keith. I think you've made some very valid points in that regard, and I agree with you certainly in regards to you know, to paying the bills. So I'm not sure what could be done as far as a Rotary International level is concerned, but certainly from a district or from a club level, maybe some restrictions could be put in place. But I think that's up to the individual clubs to sort of talk about. So look, we're coming pretty close to time here. This presentation is going to be made available on the graphics group or my Rotarian page. And if we've got one last, particularly one last sort of question that's sort of PI or Facebook related, more of a question rather than some comments, we're happy to get one. So if you've got a question, please whack it in the chat box now, and then it'll be one of our last questions that Alison and Krysta and I can talk about before we let everybody go. Okay, thank you. Christine, that's the question. Okay, so Christine asked a question: how do we advise to deal with members of the club who may want to be an admin on our Facebook page, who have some issues with grammar, etc.? Okay, my reply to that is, if they're willing to be an admin on the page, let them be an admin on the page. I would just suggest that a little bit of softly approach is what's needed. If their grammar's not that great, perhaps you know, you can just go in there and do a quick edit. The fact that at least somebody is willing to help, I think, should not be stopped. So.
And I guess,
yeah, I was going to say, you can edit after the fact if you really have to, and I think it helps you. We have 3 people that have either admin or editor access. And I think we're even finding that just communicating to make sure that we all know that you're going to be posting something, for example, or making sure that you check the scheduled posts before you post something, just so we're not posting over each other. And then if you are the sole admin and people have editor access, you can go edit if you need to. And then, as Evan mentioned, just kind of politely let them know as a teaching tool for next time.
I guess my thing too about the grammar problem is that I don't think that we do volunteers any favor by acting like everything's great if it's not. So I think you could go to that person and say, gosh, we really could use help. That's great that you're willing to do this. I do notice sometimes in your email and your Facebook, maybe grammar isn't your top priority or the thing you're best at. Are you okay with me giving feedback to you on your posts so that they can learn from it? If they're the type of person who's going to get overly sensitive and not like that you've changed anything, then maybe they shouldn't do it. If they're like, yes, I wish I was better at it, can you please help me? Then I say go for it. Let them do it and use it to teach them or use it to help them grow in an area they might want to. But I don't think, you don't do them any favors by just letting them do it and do it badly without giving them the feedback back. I mean, you wouldn't, if it was an employee or if it was your kid, you wouldn't do that. You'd give them the coaching back. So I'm all for doing it with kindness, of course, and being respectful, but we don't have to let everyone do everything if they really don't have the skill or aren't willing to be taught. You have to be teachable.
Yeah, similar for graphics too. I mean, Canva is great, as Evan showed us. It's really easy to use, and it's good to give feedback. But again, that constructive feedback on how you could make an image or a graphic better, and just reminding them where they can get graphics if they need them that comply, and that you can still be creative, even using the appropriate branding. And I know for myself, personally, even though I'm our public image chair, I often admit that I work in supply chain. I do not have a background in graphics or video or editing or marketing. And so really my job this year is to make sure I have a team in place that can do those things, that are willing to help out, because I know I don't have the skill set to do that. And that's okay. So, yeah.
It's funny, Krysta, I don't have a background in marketing. I don't have a background in graphic design. I don't have a background in anything like that, but it's something that I've just seem to be somewhat good at, I suppose. So just in closing, folks, we might do another one of these presentations in a couple of weeks or to see what kind of people's interest level is. the graphics that I've done that are in my Rotarian Facebook page, so www.facebook.com/Rotarian Evan Burrell. Anything that I post on my page, you are welcome to share or repurpose. I make things for everybody to sort of utilize. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, but they are there for you to take advantage of. And Krysta, Alison, and I, we are all accomplished speakers. We all have awesome stage presence. I think we would do a great three-way act. That sounded wrong. If you're a district governor, okay.
One of the three of us.
Gone red. I'm embarrassed. Sorry, but I think if you have some conferences or things that are coming on in the next little while or whatever else like that, I think the three of us certainly would be available to come and speak, certainly all over the United States, Australia, or wherever. If you were looking for some good guest speakers with some insights into public image, but also more importantly, a younger person's perspective on Rotary and Rotary going forward. So with that, Alison, did you want to say anything else before we close up?
No, I just think thanks for everybody for joining. Yeah, good. I'm good.
You're good.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Evan, for putting it together.
No worries. Okay, well,
thanks everybody. It was great.
Thank you very much, guys. We really appreciate you all giving up your time today to listen to us, and hopefully you learned something more.
Thank you lately.
See you all later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Farewell.